Hello there my music lovers and smartphone enthusiasts, I'm George from audiophile-heaven and today we are having a look at Huawei P30 Pro. This is a flagship smartphone and today I'm going to give you a little bit of introspection on how it feels to own and use the P30 Pro from Huawei and what I found to be a downside to it and what I found to be an upside to it. So let's dig right into the box. The P30 Pro comes packaged pretty neatly in this white package, which seems to be the same package as every other Huawei smartphone, and it has been pretty generic now. You get the smartphone, it comes with no screen protector attached and you have to outsource and purchase one. I totally recommend that. And although it has Gorilla Glass and a pretty good scratch resistant display, it will actually kinda get the scratches in your pocket. It also comes with a charger and I can't really tell you how embarrassed I feel as a tech enthusiast to hear that some companies ship their smartphones without a charger. This feels like such a letdown, you guys. We should stop purchasing any smartphone that comes without a charger. We are practically encouraging them if we keep purchasing those things. We should really stop purchasing smartphones that don't come with just the basic accessories. But the P30 Pro is actually pretty good at this. It even comes with a pair of earphones, kinda. They are pretty bad in terms of overall sound, but they are okay, they are free, they come in the package. They have a Type-C connector because the Huawei P30 Pro does not have a 3.5mm jack. You also get the charger, which is pretty thick and pretty heavy, but provides the fastest charging I've seen in a smartphone to date. And then there's the data/charging cable, which is also cool. I like having this. And this is a case. They do not ship those with a case. And this is a huge difference from my typical smartphones, which are Xiaomi, because Xiaomi, Pocophone, all of those ship with both a case, a screen protector applied, and they generally are much more careful with their phones because they are for people who don't really like investing a ton of money in the phone. Well, Huawei is for rich people. Huawei is for those who have a lot of money. This costs between $600 and $800 for the main configurations. This is a lot of money and I'm going to emphasize on this. This is a ton of money. On default, it is about 50% more expensive than my Xiaomi Poco F2 Pro. And the main reason I have the Huawei P30 Pro is because I wanted to upgrade the smartphone of my girlfriend. She was rocking a Huawei P20 and we practically decided that it was time. It was time for an upgrade. It was time that I get something better for her. And then we went with the Huawei P30 Pro. The smartphone feels extremely sleek in hand and I can't emphasize this enough, but this feels high quality. This feels like high end. This really feels nice and I've touched a ton of high-end stuff, including audio players, headphones, computer components, everything that you can imagine. I probably touched it. But in the end, nothing quite feels like this. It is so rounded around the edges that you feel like you are holding a piece of alien tech in your hands. It has a pretty large camera on the back and the camera is extruded, which means that you need to be careful about not scratching it separately from the main display. The display is curved and I found that to not be such a feature, I am actually quite bothered by it. I dislike the fact that it has a curved display. It looks kinda cool, but in practice I've seen no advantage to it. For some reason it keeps recording my steps and how many steps I make in a day, and I like to keep that step counter turned on because it helps me decide whether I have had enough exercise or not for that day. It also comes with an embedded in the display fingerprint sensor. It is also pretty effective, as you may have noticed. It works almost instantaneously. It misses slightly more often than the one on my Pocophone F2 Pro. It is slightly less sensitive and it is slightly worse than that one. But pretty much everything else about the Huawei P30 Pro is better than my Poco F2 Pro. Starting with the CPU, it is much faster, much smoother. You can exchange between applications much faster than my Pocophone F2 Pro. And that was the best flagship I have tested to date. And the P30 Pro is the next one. This is basically the best smartphone I've seen in a while. And I've tried the iPhones too, but no, this is the best I can recommend. This is the smoothest experience. This is the most ergonomic one I've tested. It is pretty large, but somehow it manages to be perfect both for my elephantine hands, but also for my girlfriend hands, which are pretty small in comparison to mine. It is just nice to hold it in your hand. It is much taller than it is wide. It has 3 buttons, one which turns it on and off, and 2 volume buttons, which is pretty cool. At the top you have a microphone and an air blaster, and at the bottom you have one single speaker, which is different from previous Huawei smartphones. You have a Type-C input and you have the SIM tray. This does not take in micro SD cards, at least not the typical ones, so it is pretty hard to live with the memory. It has a very limited memory, and I totally do not recommend the P30 Pro if you need it as your multimedia hub. It is not perfect for Tidal, it is not perfect for music. 128 gigabytes are not enough. I am not having enough memory on it. I can't really store all of my music. It is at most enough for my main compilation of songs, and I mean like my main random shuffle playlist. It is nowhere near enough for my entire collection. My entire collection is much larger. On the other hand, the space is a lot if you just take photos with it, if you just make videos with it, and that is something it is very good at. It has a beautiful camera. The camera works best in this main configuration, but it can go tele, it can go wide, it can emulate bokeh, and there are some features that actually concerned me deeply when reading about those phones and when watching other video reviews. The first thing is that to take a selfie you need to have it at a perfect distance from your face, because it doesn't have autofocus on the selfie camera, so basically you need to hold it kinda like this. But in actual practice, the Huawei P20 didn't have an autofocus on the selfie camera either, so I was kinda used to it. I've seen no issue with it. I am able to take perfect selfies. It is like an instinctive reaction for me to get it closer and farther away to focus. So that one was not an issue. The next thing is that the main speaker is behind the display. It has one of those ceramic vibration display speaker thingies, and I was really concerned about it because a lot of people complained that you can't really hear every phone call, while others say that you can hear them perfectly, so I was confused. And let me tell you this, the speaker is perfect. I almost always keep my smartphones on speaker, like on the large speaker and very high volumes, because I can't really feel comfortable doing this. This feels uncomfortable and unnatural to me. I don't know if I'm aging and if I'm becoming one of those crazy old people, or I just don't feel comfortable doing this. But even if I had to, even if I was talking to it like this, the speaker is loud enough. It is loud enough to hear it in every single situation. In fact, it is better at being audible even in very noisy environments, because it kind of vibrates to you, and I am able to hear it if I am doing this. The main loudspeaker sounds loud enough to hear a phone call. It sounds loud enough for voices. It has better clarity, better bass, better depth. It has much better overall quality and clarity than my Pocophone F2 Pro. And this is a very high quality speaker. It is just mono though. It is pretty limited in that aspect. I would not use this to listen to music in any single situation. It is a terrible music experience. And about the battery, this is the main reason I actually considered replacing my Poco F2 Pro with one of those as well. I don't really love Huawei's software. Huawei's software is weird, but it has Google Play, it runs every single app, and it is smooth. On the other hand, the battery is amazing. You have a life of battery in it. Abusing it, with using it to the maximum, with using it for Facebook, games, music, taking photos, taking videos, doing everything that you normally do, it lasts up to 3 days, and 2 days if you are very abusive. My Pocophone F2 Pro discharges itself without me using it. The rascal is right here. This is the Pocophone F2 Pro and this is the Huawei P30 Pro. And this is how they look like in person. The Huawei P30 Pro has much better battery life. It lasts so much longer. It is so much better. It also charges much faster than my Pocophone F2 Pro. It has better battery life. It is more reliable, quicker. It is much better in every way. It is also more than 50% more expensive. And this one actually gets me through the day. So you don't really need to upgrade if you are not itching for an upgrade. I was kind of itching for an upgrade because my girlfriend was using the Huawei P20. I have both the P20 and the P30 Pro, and I'll have to admit this, but at first I was a bit disappointed by the P30 Pro. It feels weird. The first thing that I've noticed was that the photos were not quite as clear and they were a bit blurry to me. But then I read more about the display and I tweaked a bit the settings of the display and also the settings of the camera. I pretty much realized that it does one thing. It has a greenish kind of tint and it has a green dark kind of tint to the display. This is an OLED display and you can actually get rid of it and you can kind of correct it if you tweak the settings, but every single one of those displays will be individual. Every single one of them will have a very specific color tint and you need to kind of know how to tweak those settings a bit so that you can cancel that tint. Compared to that, my Pocophone F2 Pro has no such thing. It has no tint on the display. It is perfectly clear. It has a very low overall color aberration. It is good with the display. The Huawei P30 is not quite as good with the colors out of the box, so you need to set that up. The Wi-Fi signal is stronger than my Pocophone F2 Pro, and after having used my Pocophone F2 Pro for about 6 months now, I want to sell it, I want to burn it, I want to throw it away. It is terrible. It is one of the worst smartphones I have ever used. And I'm saying this after having reviewed it and giving it a thumbs up. But the main thing that it did wrong to me, to insult me and to offend me so much, is the phone quality. The phone quality of the Pocophone F2 Pro is actually not great. The first thing I've noticed about that one is that when I answer a phone, the person on the other end cannot hear me and I have to turn on the speaker for them to start hearing me. So the microphone is not recording the first time you answer the phone. Just why? How do you create such a bug? Why did not they correct it? I've upgraded it to every single revision. And I just wanted to emphasize on this. The Pocophone F2 Pro is not such a great smartphone. It is a great media player, camera, it is a great everything else, but as a smartphone for taking phone calls, no. It actually doesn't have those issues if you are using the WhatsApp application, so it is something especially wrong with its phone app. And I was not able to solve that by installing other apps. I was not able to actually solve that. But on the Huawei P30 Pro, I haven't had such issues. It is working perfectly. I didn't really catch any crash with it. It didn't really fail me in any single way, and although at first I've been a bit underwhelmed, after having had it for about 3 months now, I find it to be perfect. It is the perfect smartphone. It has everything you may ever need from a smartphone. Baby! Erika? The camera quality is better than my Pocophone F2 Pro, it is better than the older Huawei P20. The battery life is better than everything I have ever seen, despite it having a pretty low size on paper. It just lives with it. You just have so much battery life. It also has a beautiful overall display after you tweak it a bit. It is smooth, it runs every game, it is quick, it has everything I have ever dreamed of from a smartphone. So if you are wondering if the Huawei P30 is good for you, if it will be good for a few years, yes it will. Yes, it is great. Yes, after a long while I have been having a lot of fun with it and I will be keeping this one. I will be using this one, and actually it's my girlfriend who will be using it. I will stick to my Poco F2 Pro. Alrighty then, I hope this video has been enjoyable to watch. I hope you had a great time on audiophile-heaven. I hope you will consider subscribing to audiophile-heaven. I also hope you leave a like on this video if you enjoyed the video, the new camera quality, the b-rolls, everything. I hope you have a lovely week in there, and don't forget, you're the star of this show for being here with me today. Thank you for watching and we'll see each other really soon. Bye bye.